So, we've talked about why practicing is so hard and what's hard about practicing, and now I want to talk about how to make practicing easy and how I've overcome my struggles with practicing. So if you saw my video from a couple weeks ago, it was called Why is Practicing So Hard? And I sort of talked a little bit about my personal struggles with practicing and just some general struggles with practicing. And in that video, I said that I was gonna try to get my practicing under control and start doing my practice journal and see if I can make that improve in preparation for my recital, which also happened a few weeks ago. And I think I really found some success in my practice journaling, and I think it led to a really successful recital that I had a lot of fun playing and felt pretty well prepared, especially considering the small amount of time that I worked on to prepare for that program. So right now I want to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of what my practice journal looked like and a sneak peek of what the practice journal that is in the official Quick Start Clarinet How to Practice course looks like. So hopefully this will be really valuable and will help you to improve your practicing and help you organize your practicing so it can be a really effective process that you can just sort of follow and get better at playing the clarinet. So here's a quick look at the practice journal. So the first page is all about warm-ups, and then there's a page about music, and then there's a sort of calendar page to figure out your schedule. So what I did for these is I put in the box all of the warm-up exercises that I like to do and all the good warm-ups. Let me see, I don't know where a good spot for you to see this is, but that's okay. If you can't see it, you can get the How to Practice course and it's all in there. So in the first box, I put in all of my warm-ups that I like to do, and I divided it into a few different categories. And then I just sort of picked from those the ones that I wanted to do each day, and in the bottom, I wrote in what I did, how long I was going to do it for, and then some notes about how it went. So this was really helpful for a couple reasons. I planned out beforehand what I wanted to do and how much time I wanted to spend on it, and this helped me focus in my warm-up time and also limit my warm-up time, so I just didn't spend an hour playing warm-ups, and I could actually move on to learning the music that I needed to learn. So I'll give you an example of what I did. So for the exercise, I have a scale exercise where I was doing the scale long tones, where it's just up to the 5th note and back down. That one's on the 3 steps to mastering the clarinet in the exercises section that you'll get when you join the Quick Start community, or you have if you have joined. And I planned on doing that for 5 minutes. And then my notes were, remember to play it soft too. The sound is a little bit fuzzy. Make sure to cross the break on the scales next time to practice that. And then the first 3 of my reeds, in my case, are a little bit fuzzy too. But the 4th one is kind of good. So those notes are pretty valuable because they show a couple things. It's reminders of what to do better next time, notes about how it went this time, and then some notes about reads too. So when I go in the future and I'm trying to find a read, then I know that those reads may not be as good, so that makes it easier and less reads that I have to try for the day of my recital. The other thing that was really beneficial about this was having the time planned out. So I gave myself 5 minutes to do these long tones, and it really made me so much more effective and focused in those 5 minutes of warm-ups. There's a principle, I'm pretty sure it's called Pareto's principle, or something like that, and it's this idea that you'll get whatever you have to get done in the time that you have to do it. So that was part of my overwhelm with practicing, is I would have a 3-hour block to practice, and I'd be like, well, I have 3 hours to practice all this stuff, and I would just go super slow and super inefficient. But if I give myself 5 minutes to do my long tones, then I'm really efficient about it because I know I have those 5 minutes to get really good long tones in, so I work harder and work more efficiently in that time. So it's always good to block out out your time and sort of limit yourself and limit your timing so that you're really as effective as possible. Because if I have 3 hours to do my long tones and scales and articulation and learn my music, first of all, it's overwhelming because I'm like, wow, I have all this stuff to do. And second of all, I'm not efficient at all because I'm like, well, I have all this time to do it, so it'll probably get done, right? So I highly recommend breaking down into small chunks, just like I did on this sheet. 5 minutes for the scale long tones, 10 minutes for the Albert scales, and 5 minutes for some tongue tickles articulation. Those were the ones that I did that day. So that's the warm-up part of it. Now let's talk about the music part of it. So the music page is very similar. I have the box, which is all the pieces that I was working on. So at the top, I put the most important ones, which were like the ones for my recital. In the middle was stuff that I had coming up soon that I needed to prepare for. It was mostly ensemble stuff. And then as I go down, it was some longer term preparation stuff or some stuff that was easier and didn't require as much work. On this one, I sort of just gave myself about 30 minutes for each piece. So I didn't write the time down because I just gave myself the same amount of time for each piece. But I did write down the section that I was able to get done in that time. And that was really helpful so that I know what I got done and what I needed to do going into the future. So an example of this was I did the Debian Sonata. I worked on the third movement. I did it with the metronome, working my way up from slow tempos to fast tempos and making sure that everything was technically smooth. And then I made a note to myself that the end of it still needs more work. So this was really helpful because it shows that I already did it slow and got in my slow practicing. And it also shows that for next time, I still need to work on the ending a little bit and maybe still do some more slow practicing on the ending, but I can move on to the next step, which I would say is doing more big chunks smoothly and comfortably closer to tempo. So that's how I sort of organized my music learning practice. So that was one whole practice session. I did my specific amounts of times for my warm-ups, and then I did a half an hour for each piece and got as much work done as I could in that time and made note of what I got done, and that was sort of like one practice session. And then I did that each day, but I also wanted to more broadly organize the long term, and I made sort of goals for what I wanted to do each day, and that's on the final page, which is the schedule of things. So on this, it's set up like a calendar. I started about a week and a half before my recital, really getting detailed with the journaling. And I put on each day like what times I was gonna practice and also what was sort of like my goal or my aim. So you can see like I have from 12 to 2 I'm gonna practice, and this day is gonna be slow practicing on just small chunks, so like really going after the hard parts and making sure that the technical stuff can be comfortable slow and gradually worked up, and then also finalizing any musical decisions, so going through and really deciding like where I want to breathe and how to get the phrasing. It's really good to like finalize those things as early as possible so that you really have a lot of time to practice them and you get used to doing them the way that you want to for the actual performance. I'm just going to go ahead and sort of read through what my goals were for each day so you can get an idea of what some good goals are to have. So the first day was slow practicing in small chunks like I just went through. The next one was to solidify the hard parts, make sure I can do everything that's technically difficult. The next day was a break. It's good to take breaks even when you're cramming for a performance. Breaks really help everything like set in and help you get a fresh start when you get back. The next day was testing and adjusting reeds. So I wanted to give myself about a week on the reeds that I might play on and have an idea of how all those reeds are going to play about a week in advance. The next day was running through, listening to a recording and also recording that. So what I did was I played through the whole program, playing along with a recording, and then I also recorded myself so I could listen back and see how I sounded. The next day was some more slow practicing to make sure everything's going how it should be and fixing any spots that went awry in the run through. The next day was working up the speed with the metronome so I could do the whole thing comfortably at tempo. Next day was another slow run through to fix anything that didn't work I wasn't able to get up to speed, and just it's always good to practice slow, because when you're going slow, you have more time to think about every musical thing and make sure that the sound's really good. So I really can't recommend going slow enough, even all the way up to like the day of a performance. Practicing slow is extremely beneficial. And then the last day was my dress rehearsal, so that was just a normal run through with everything. And then the last day I just put to warm up, because like I did in my video last week, the proof that warm-ups work, having a really good warm-up and being really comfortable and well warmed up makes a world of difference for the overall playing quality. So I wanted to make sure the day of that I had a really good warm-up, and I didn't run through anything because I didn't want to tire myself out. So having all of this practice plan in place and keeping track of everything with my practice journal has really been immensely beneficial for my playing, and it's made the practicing so much more efficient and so much more effective and so much more satisfying too. It's awesome to be able to like block out my time and be like, I'm gonna practice from this time to this time, and this is exactly how I'm gonna spend my time practicing. And that just helps the growth and the improvement go so much more steadily and so much more efficiently too, as opposed to just looking at this mountain of music, looking at this mountain of time, and like trying to figure it out. Again, with the Pareto's principle, I was spending just really wasting so much time because I felt like I had this big block of time, I would be able to get through all of this stuff, and I would never really like get going actually seriously practicing. So I strongly recommend like limiting your time. Set this is how much time you're going to practice, and set this is how much time you're going to practice each exercise. And then you have to be methodical about what you're practicing and for how long you're practicing each thing. And then in those small blocks of time that you're practicing, you can be really effective. It's so much more satisfying and more efficient and effective to be like, okay, I'm going to practice this piece for 30 minutes and I'm going to get as much done as I can in the 30 minutes versus I have 17 pieces and 2 hours ready to go. That's so overwhelming just thinking about it. So I strongly encourage journaling your practicing. You can sort of just do something similar to what I just described, or you can actually go to quickstartclarinet.com and get the How to Practice course and get that exact practice journal that I used, which I highly recommend because I made it. And also, if you haven't yet joined the official Quick Start Clarinet community, click the link in the description to do that, and you'll get a special bonus if it's still up when you're watching this. There's a special bonus offer where you can get the How to Practice course for a big discount, and that again comes with the practice journal template, so you can fill it out and do the same thing for your practicing. I hope this has helped make your practicing easier, and I'm personally really satisfied that I've been able to sort of overcome the rut I was in with my practicing, and I'm looking forward to hearing how it's helped you with your practicing in the comments below. So if you're still struggling with practicing, try this out, and if it's successful for you, let me know in the comments, and if there's anything that you've found with your own practicing to make it more successful, let me know in the comments as well. Thanks so much for watching this. Go ahead and subscribe if you liked it, and share if there's other people who are struggling with practicing that you want to help, and I'll see you in another video.